first. And to get to the human side, and if it's with an owner or with your super or with your project engineer, it doesn't always have to be so cold and businesslike. Get to know them a little bit, talk to them about who they are as a person, and then you can loop business into that.
Today on the Curious Builder podcast, we had Baldwin General Contracting on, and it was a great episode. I got to talk to Michelle VanVolkinburg, but it was just delightful to talk with her. She's head of marketing and human resources, and just really talking about the expansion of the company from Oregon up into Washington, and really just how the inner workings of a company culture can really lead to an expansion, not only of the team's culture internally, but also how other people perceive it on the outside. You're going to love this. Without further ado, here's Michelle. Welcome to Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today we are interviewing Michelle. Let me give it this a try. Michelle VanVolkinburg. Did I get it?
You nailed it.
Yes, that is an awesome last name. Baldwin General Construction out of Oregon. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So your role is you're the head of marketing and human resources. Is that correct?
I am.
Yeah, we had someone on your PR team, I think it was Wendell, reached out to us to set up the interview, and we had a late minute audible, but honestly, sorry, Jan, I think I got the better interview here. You look like you're going to be a great one. I'm sure Jan's great too, but I was like, it's actually really fun to interview other people on the team, because a big part of the podcast is to celebrate entrepreneurship, but it's not very often I get to interview other people other than the owners. And so it'd be really funny, or not funny, but fun and interesting to hear your point of view of why you joined the company, your career path, as you weave it into the story of, Baldwin's General Construction story as well. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
You're in Oregon. I was actually just out there. I was mentioning in our pre-deal, I was actually out there last week. My sister was running Hood to Coast, and I was out there for my 100 miler. It got canceled halfway through the race because of all the wildfires, which actually is a great deal. I feel like Oregon is known for its wildfires. Like lately, am I wrong in that? Or there are so many wildfires out there.
Yeah, sadly, you're not wrong. I'm from Southern California, and I thought I was an expert on fires, but as it turns out, we have a lot here. And in fact, our home was we were in a stage 2, get ready to leave watch just a couple of months ago. So
really,
yeah.
Where are you guys located?
We're in Salem.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Just right outside of Salem. So.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah, I was in my area. I was, Bend to the sisters, and they had that. Was it the Flatiron Fire? They name them. I feel like it's hurricanes. You name the fire, and so they keep going up the ladder. Well, enough about that awesome fireness. Tell us a little bit about Baldwin General. What's interesting is I haven't had anyone on the podcast. Most of them have been smaller operations. We've had a few. I had one down in Texas that had 100 employees, and they did some light commercial, but man, your repertoire, you guys build everything. I mean, I've seen you guys mentioned you build schools, you do residential homes, you're doing retirement communities. Like, what don't you build?
Well, I think our motto is, and Jan's motto is, if bring it on, we'll do it. We'll figure it out. We will absolutely. What do you want to build? We will make your dreams come true. So we have a wide breadth. What
would you say your split is because you guys have been in business for about 25 years. Is that right?
Yeah, we're 27 years.
Okay. And what did you start residential, or walk us through a little bit where you started to where you're at today?
Sure. I love, like you, I love telling stories. It's the most captivating for an audience, and just to hear, they want that real side. They want the human side of a business is what I have found over the years. And we can get into that later, but it's such a great way to just let your audience know, let our customers know, let our ownership, the ownership of projects that we do, let them know who we really are, and create a relationship and a bond and make it real. And that's something that we strive for every day. So yeah, Jan started this business when it was 27 years ago.
Yeah, a while ago. Yeah, so 1998.
98, yeah, thank you. I get the dates because he started this with his 1988 pickup truck and had tools in the back of his truck, and just he was coming off of a career of being a musician in a band and traveling, and needed to figure out, hey, I need to be home with my wife and kids and put food on the table And I know how to do this. It's generational. His grandpa, his dad taught him. They were Finnish carpenters, and they taught him very meticulously how to create and how to build. His mother did some amazing work with textiles. She was also very innovative and so creative. And it just, I think, it's innate in him. And so he just knew what to do. So he started doing projects around his neighborhood for neighbors. And you know how that goes. A neighbor goes, "Oh my gosh, you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, what do you need? Can you redo my bathroom?" Absolutely. And he's not done that before, but he's not going to let them know that. To them, he's a specialist. So he just started very slowly like that, by word of mouth. And a really neat thing that I love, early on, it was in that first year, he had a gentleman walk up to the house, like in the neighborhood that he was in, and say, "Do you need help? I'm looking for some work." And Jan said, "Absolutely." And this gentleman is still with us to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's impressive.
love that story. The loyalty that Jan has for his people, and vice versa is
how big is the company now in terms of people?
We have 68 people.
Oh my, that's a big company.
Between our Oregon office and our Bellevue, Washington office.
When, you had mentioned, even before we were just talking a little bit before we started recording, you guys are starting to expand into other states. How long has that expansion kind of been underway?
It's been 2 years, and we were approached, a little over 2 years. We were approached to do this really large multifamily facility in Bellevue. Beautiful, beautiful job. And Jan, again, yes, let's do it. Let's take it on. And so he assembled a team up there of some really, really amazing professionals, and they got to work. And we just finished this project.
Is that the Elder Housing Project?
No, this one is called our Nuovo family housing. I don't have it on the website yet. We just wrapped it up, and I actually just got pictures back. So
wonderful.
I will be putting those to our website because it is absolutely breathtaking. It's beautiful. So
just for frame of context, would you say, so what percentage of your work is commercial versus residential? And then let's throw in remodeling in there if you do any remodeling.
Sure. We're 100% commercial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He started out doing residential early on and realized that commercial was easier with client, interactions. And residential, you're dealing with, "Oh, I don't want this sink. Can we change this? Can we change that?" And it was just kind of the back and forth. And he just,
I've always wondered about that. I've been in residential construction my whole life, and I guess I love it. And a lot of we like people, but I've often been told, and I'd be curious from your point of view, the pros and cons as you understand it compared to residential is when you're going business to business, there's probably less emotion. Do you think that's true?
Yes, on a different level. There's emotion. It's just on a different level because with commercial, you're dealing with ownership and then their team. So you have just different layers in your meetings every week that you're speaking to.
With I'm guessing, but their primary goal to have someone build something is it probably for profit. Like liquidated damages would be something that you probably have to deal with that most residential builders do not. And I've heard it before, like, "Hey, we're building a restaurant. Every day or week that this goes past opening day costs us X number of dollars." Where like in residential construction, well, we obviously try the best we can to stay on a schedule. And it's not that we can't. I've been told by our lawyers, never agree to a contract with liquidated damages with a customer. But it seems like commercial, that's a pretty standard protocol. Is that pretty much normal in all of your contracts?
It absolutely is. And our scheduling then becomes very important.
Right.
As you can well imagine. And so we now have something that we've implemented in the last year and a half. We now have a scheduling coordinator in our office who partners with our project teams, the superintendent first and foremost, and the project manager. So he doesn't create the schedule, the superintendents create the schedule. But what our scheduling coordinator does is sits in and he'll look at the schedule when it's all said and done. And what he's looking for is following that critical path. Are we following the critical path? And if we bump something, if a sub goes over, or if a step doesn't show, or that's going to delay, that's going to cause this. Number one, who pays for that? Number two, what does that do to our substantial completion? So he is just a wizard at this whole process, and he really watches that along with the team. Again, he's partnering with the team. So, when he sits in meetings, the team is going through their schedule and what's gone on that week, and he'll kind of perk up and say, wait, what was that? Was that a delay I smell? Or, something along those lines. And he's just very much in tune to each project and what's.
I've always wondered about that. I didn't mean to dive into it, but I guess I might as well because I'm very curious about it. So maybe I'll dive a little bit into how that works. Because I get asked, we're building a house right now for someone who's a very large business, and I'm sure they've done commercial buildings. And he asked us specifically about liquidated damages. And I said, that's not something that we'll entertain as a residential builder. And I just explained why, and he accepted it. And that was that. Now that obviously at a future date, someone might push harder. And I was kind of curious. So the last couple of years, we used to tell a homeowner, hey, this house is going to take 12 months. And you get to, of course, we usually say we'll lock in that actual move-in date, call it 60 days before, because, there might have been movement, things like that. And they lock it in because they're scheduling movers and all that kind of stuff. But, you do your final walkthrough, your punch list. I mean, this is how we did it for probably 17, 18, 19 years. Not the best way, just sharing out dirty laundry of how we did it. So we'd come in on a Monday. They're moving in on a Friday because the house, they want to move in as soon as it's done. And so we get done, we get the CO. Monday, we do our punch list. We come up with the 10, 15, 20, 30, however many items. But then we have to do that in 4 days. Good luck. No one can do whatever's on this list in 4 days. They move in on that Friday because that's what you told them. And then you spend the next 6 months working around their schedule to get into these, silly little punch items that if you had more time, you could have just taken care of them. And so at the Contractor Coalition Summit, this was actually brought up by somebody else. And so we copied it. We add a 30-day window to all of our jobs. And we say that whenever we get the CO from the city, a certificate of occupancy, for those that don't know what the CO is, we have 30 days from that date to when you move in. Now we do our walkthrough and we have 30 days to finish it. And now the client is moving into a home that has zero punch list. If you do it ahead of time, it takes 30 days. If you do it after, it takes 6 months. Anyway, where I'm going with this is we tell our clients ahead of the time about this. And now in the last 2 years, we've had zero issues with it. They totally understand it. I explain the reasoning and they're totally on board with it. Where I think if you told a client 75 days before they're going to move in, you need another 30 days, they might have issues with that. My question on commercial and with liquidated damages, can't you just set the schedule to whatever you want out there and say hey, your team tells you it's going to take 12 months. So do you just say, hey, this is going to be a 14-month contract, so you allow yourself 2 months of window? Or how tight do you have to be to avoid, this kind of guillotine of oh man, we're going to get whacked. I don't know what a normal rate is, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is a day. That's insane. Because then I would worry about quality control. Now you're warring with quality versus completion, and you are sort of disincentivized for quality because you're man, if we hit this and it's not done, we've got problems. Sorry, it's a big question, but I'm kind of curious how commercial contractors navigate this.
Well, it is tricky, but that's what liquidated damages is set up for in the very beginning. Number one, clients, owners will give us a time frame. They typically come with a time frame. I need this done by this date, because they have plans. They need to start making money on that property.
Is it up to you to push back if it's unrealistic? What if someone said, hey, I want to build a school in 12 months? And you're dude, this is an 18-month project at minimum. How do you push back?
Yes, that's within our pre-construction phase. We'll push back, and then the project teams, we have this great collaboration. We have an amazing vice president of our pre-construction, of our estimating team. And gosh, he's just brilliant. And he just knows. He's done this for so long. He just can look at this and go, and, get these numbers out. And it's amazing to watch his brain work. So yes, there is pushback, and there's a lot of negotiating. It's a longer process. It sounds like I've never built a home. Well, the home I'm in, yes, we had this one built, but it was easier than this world because of that. So you have this tango, if you will, with clients, and what can we do in a reasonable time, because you want this done right. The liquidated damages is set up at the very beginning, so there are no surprises. And then it also really, I think, points out how important your project team is, that you have the right project team on the job. And oh my goodness, how important a superintendent is. That is their job. They are running and owning that job, and they're running their subs. They're looking at this schedule and following it to the day, to the nose, to the hour sometimes, if like on our Nuovo job, just what is happening by the hour, because this was 5 levels of movement going on. And absolutely amazing how it is orchestrated, and very important to have, again, the right project team on the job.
Mm-hmm. How would you say, so the evolution over the last 27 years from Jan saying, I'll do anything with a great attitude and figuring it out, the evolution into commercial, and now, would you say 68 employees? What do you think has been some of the keys to that growth and that success over that duration?
With his entrepreneurial mind and just this can-do attitude, he just grew this himself, not really knowing. He didn't have a business plan. He didn't start with a business plan. He just needed to put food on the table, and knew that he loved this work, loved creating, loved building. And Jan is someone who also loves relationship. He is a very, very big on relationships and loyalty, and very, very important to him. And so he's creating relationships with his residential clients, and we have some beautiful photos of the projects he's done. And gosh, one is just this award-winning project. This home is beautiful, and those lead to something. Referrals, the impact of word of mouth and networking and how that works. And so that's really how it was started. Hey, can you do this? My sister needs this, or that sort of thing. But it was once he got into the commercial work and dealing with the different nuances of commercial, it was, this is where I would like to head. And that's just where he started to kind of phase the residential out. It wasn't really a clean break. It was just a phasing. And then it just was a bigger focus. And then that required more people, because he couldn't do all of that on his own. So he just started gathering and gathering people.
This episode is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. I've used Pella for 21 years as the exclusive window company on every one of my builds. When people ask me who I trust for windows and doors, it's Pella, every time. Their craftsmanship, their innovation, the top-tier service make them a no-brainer for any custom home builder or designer who demand the best. Whether you're designing something bold or building something with timeless elegance, Pella has you covered. They're also the only window company that has a lifetime warranty on all of their windows. I've gotten to know all of their people at Pella Corporate, as well as locally here at Pella Northland. I'm proud to call them our partners and our friends. Visit Pella.com to learn more and connect with your local reps today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 1, where I interview the Pella Northland founders, as well as episode 109, where we talk all about their latest innovation with the Steady Set window. This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. If you're still chasing checks and juggling spreadsheets, it's time to upgrade. Adaptive is revolutionizing how builders get paid with AI-powered bill pay, automated draws, one-click payments, and built-in lien waivers. Faster payments, fewer headaches, and total visibility. Adaptive takes care of the back-end chaos so you can focus on what you do best, building. We've used Adaptive for 2.5 years and trust them to keep our projects moving and payments flowing. Learn more at adaptive.build and simplify the pay process today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 10 and episode 15. I'd love to shift into your role. I think you've been there for just 1 or 2 years. How long have you been there now?
Just over 2 years.
And I was reading a quote that you sent, and I just love this. It was skincare, lip gloss, or 30 tons of concrete. The principles of business are the same. I was like, that is awesome. So clearly you have a colored marketing background. What was your story, and why did you want to join the Baldwin team?
This is a fun story, I have to say. So buckle up.
I'm ready. Buckle up.
Okay. All right. Buckle up. So for the first, part of my career journey I was a business executive for Nordstrom and for Clinique Cosmetics. And I did that for 12 years along the West Coast. And so fun. This was pre-kids, and just living this great life of travel and going to new spaces, states that I hadn't been to, and working with these amazing two amazing companies. And my role was kind of a pseudo in-house HR, coordinator, and working with people, gals and guys that I'm coaching them selling, I'm coaching, in HR and in their world, and really coaching to their strengths and just finding their strengths and really just honing in on that. And at the end of the day, how is that going to affect our bottom line? And we need to hit our goal. And so I just really enjoyed that. And I had these, really high hopes and aspirations, and I had this goal of a personal goal that I wanted to get to, and was to be an education manager with this company. And it required a lot of travel. And when I had interviewed for the job came open. I interviewed for it, and I passed the first step, and I was ready to go to the next step, and found out that, hey, you're going to have a baby. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is, two things that I've wanted all of my life. And the baby was more important. So I did not want to spend my life traveling and having, a nanny raise my child. So that was a really hard decision to leave once I did make that decision. Very tough. Fast forward, then my husband and I owned a business with his parents, and that was up in Oregon now. The first part of that story was in Southern California, and then we're up in Oregon. And his family had a vineyards in the Willamette Valley here. And so my husband, we had 36 acres, and he was the sole vineyard manager and helped his dad with the winemaking. And for a long time, his dad just sold grapes as a hobby. And then when my husband started, it was a full-time thing. And then it became, hey, let's make our own wine and sell it under our label. So we did that. And so then I became marketing and business manager, and all of the hats that you wear as a business owner, as you know. So that was very fun, and we did that for a long time. And we just 5 years ago had to hang up those hats due to some health issues within his family. And so again, another very, very hard chapter to close, because it was something that we all just enjoyed so much. And then I found myself going, okay, now what? What do I want to do? My boys are older. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? So one of my very close friends, who's like a brother to me, was also in this journey with us, and, seeing the pain and struggles of having to close this family business and move forward to something new. And he worked for Baldwin, and he's like, oh, there's something for you, something here. I just know it. Anyway, he got me in front of Jan for an interview, and I interviewed with the accounting team first, and it sounded amazing, great. And yes, I can do this. I can do accounting, but this is not where you want me. It's not my biggest strength, honestly. And I will get so bored sitting behind a computer all day, just crunching numbers. I'm a people person. I need to be out. You want me out with people. You want me to sell your brand. You want me to represent your brand. So I said no to that. And then Jan called me personally and said, I'd like to look at this further. Can I meet with you? Absolutely. So he and I had our first interview and talked for over an hour, which for him to give me over an hour was amazing, because I now know how busy this man's life is. So that was an honor. And again, it sounded so good. So like, oh my gosh, this company, I love how he built the company. Coming from a family business, I know what it takes. I know how hard it is. And it's a passion of mine. I love family businesses, and I always want to support a local family business. And so that really hit home for me. And then just his drive and his passion, just again, that can do, we get this figured out, we'll do it attitude. And I had this kind of lingering mind chatter of, gosh, I don't know if I can do this full time, because I have some obligations to my family at home. We care for my in-laws as well. So I wanted to make sure that was going to be conducive. So at the end of the day, I had to sadly turn him down. I'm so sorry. I can't do this at this time. It's an amazing job. I just would be so wonderful to do and to partner with you, but it's just not right at this time. And he didn't know why. I just had to say no. And that didn't settle well with him. I know now that you don't tell Jan no. so, so he said, "Oh, Michelle, there's more here. I know it. Can we meet one more time?" So talk about a salesman, right?
Wow,
So
you must have really impressed him. I mean, he really not only did for the hour, but now he wanted to do it again. He didn't want to let you go.
right, right. So we met again. And at this time I thought, okay, Michelle, it's time to come clean. Let him know the why. Let him know what's going on. And, you don't want to talk about your personal life in an interview, right? But I did. I said, okay, listen, I owe you the why. And there's some personal things I need to still attend to along with doing this amazing job. And I just don't know if that would be conducive to this schedule. And he said, "Are you kidding me?" When I told him what I do for my family, like his jaw dropped. He's like, "Are you kidding me? Does your family know how lucky you are that you do all of that for them and you do this and you do that?" And, he says, "Of course you can do that. Of course we'll make things happen for you. This is your place. This is the place where you need to be." And at the end of our meeting, I think it was an hour that time around, I said, "I think you have your girl. I think I'm going to do this." So that was little over 2 years ago. And here we are. And the whole plan was what he needed was marketing. He had Wendell in place, but he needed a marketing director to really just look at the website in a big way and really manage that, because that's a monster in and of itself. And then manage social media and all of those marketing efforts. And so that was a big one. And then in the back of our minds was human resources. And so marketing was first. That was kind of the fire of the moment. And so we did that, and really.
So that would have coincided with your push to Washington.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that probably was that a big reason why he was looking for marketing? Because if he's pushing up into there, he's going to want to market what you're doing and kind of expand your footprint.
Right. Yep, yeah. Exactly. Because you lead all of your clients to your website to look at what you've done and look at your portfolio. And your website is very, very much a big deal in how you sell yourself and position yourself in the industry. So
yes. Is that where, would you say historically, let's say the last 5-10 years, and I guess how do you contrast it with the last 2 since you've been there? Where do most of your leads come from? Are they a website? Is it Google? Is it referral? Is it architects? How are you accounting for where your leads are coming from?
That's a great question. And you've hit a couple of them. A lot of it is word of mouth and referrals, for sure. We really work hard to work on those referrals. Architects, yes, we keep great relationships with architects, and they will let us know if something is available and they're working on something. We'd like you to bid this, because we have to bid the jobs and then win them based on the lowest. Who's the lowest? Your race to the bottom, I guess. But it's your face forward, it's your website, it's your marketing outside of what you have, because then those clients can go and look at what you do. So they just go in tandem and to cover you off.
How often, I guess 2 things to dig in. One is it's very common that people use that term. So I'd like to dig in on that a little bit of race to the bottom. I try to combat that all the time in residential construction, but I would imagine it's true of all business, frankly, that we're in it for value statements. And really, how do you differentiate yourself? Because, everyone thinks that they do it a little bit different. But at the end of the day, this has been what I've used for a long time now. It's, if you're going to choose a builder or general contractor of a similar strata, so similar quality that you can put forth, and all the materials are the same, then it really shouldn't be about the price, because the price should be within 1% or 2 of each other. It should really be about the relationship and the journey. I feel like most businesses, for sure, residential construction, we don't talk enough about the journey and about what the partnership is, because it's a long design. Could take 6 months to 15 months of just design, depending on the size and complexity of the home. And then the build can take anywhere from 10 months to 2 years. And I feel like how we talk about the process and how we talk about the partnership and what the expectations are, how clear we are with that, is really something that doesn't get talked about enough. Do you feel like that's true also in commercial construction?
I do. And one of our biggest key components is that we have a vice president of business development, and he's been with us for just over a year. And so he's been able to just drive our mission and drive that relationship piece and sell Baldwin to these owners reps and to these clients. And so he really bridges that gap, and he's a born salesman. He sells Baldwin. He sells what we do. He sells our value, he sells our relationship piece, and he uses our referrals like crazy, just in showing, look, here's what people are saying about Baldwin and why you need to look at us. So we have a great partner in that as well, to get to that, just to get to that, the sale, and to win that job, and to say, okay, we just did one recently, we were one of 9, and then because of Todd, and to your point, everything is the same, every nail is the same, every piece of wood is the same, but you're working on relationship. And so Todd just really builds those relationships in a huge way and really makes these connections. He's another amazing guy. Again, you said Jan is a collector of great talent. Jan knows talent when he sees it, and he wants it for himself and for his company. And so that's really, at the end of the day, besides getting to, maybe we're the lowest, maybe we're just almost the lowest, but man, that relationship piece, this team is great, because by this time they've met your project team, they've met Jan, they've met a lot of your internal people, and they're, oh, I like this. This is a good relationship. And so relationship sells.
Would you say is the normal amount of people that would bid on a project?
It depends on the project. The one that I just mentioned was another multi-family housing unit, and there were 9, and now we're down to 3. And the owner says, I like Baldwin out of the 3 the best, but he still needs some key pieces. So we're constantly, to your point, this has been a long process. I mean, we've been working on this one client for just about a year. And sometimes Todd has these clients he's been connected with through networking for 3 or 5 years. He just knows them, and they reach out to him because of that relationship. So now
it's just a lot different than residential. I mean, yes. And maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think a lot of the builders I've talked to have felt this way. Like, if a client, for one, rarely do we get, I shouldn't say rarely, maybe out of 5-6 projects a year, maybe 1 or 2 will have multiple bid. But honestly, it's a red flag for me. If a client wants more than 3 bids, I'm usually out, unless it's a project that I really want, or it's an architect we're trying to work with, or something that the house is just really special. Because if someone wants 9 bids, I would say, I'm sorry, we're just not a good fit for you. And I'm just comparing it to residential. So that's why I'm kind of trying to get to if commercial is different this way, because I would just say you're devaluing the relationship. You're looking at 9 bids. First of all, I don't know, do you guys get paid, I would assume, for pre-construction bids, or what does the bid process look like commercially? Do you get paid for those?
Yes, we can get those in there. We can get some finances in there, but it's a process. We have this great VP of estimating, and again, he can oftentimes, it depends. There are so many different layers, but he can oftentimes look at something, and if they just want to know how long will this take to build and about how much, right, he can go, sure, 14 months and, $5 million.
Sure.
He knows he's done this for so long, and he knows about what it'll take. And then if they want to dive in, then we get into the nitty gritty, and our guys take it apart. We have 4 pre-construction, and they take it apart and they do their nitty gritty.
Yeah. And I get that. I mean, I think maybe I'm just speaking to the builders out there that do work for free, which I've been a large proponent of not doing. I think people should be paid for bids. I mean, yes, everyone, including myself, there are times where we do not, especially if we're not leading design. If we're leading design, we have a pre-construction agreement in place for that very reason. And then if the client wants to, at the end of that process, get another bid, obviously they're welcome to. Almost never does it happen, because you build up this huge relationship and answering all their questions and going through the design. I mean, it's like they know you so well. The only reason it really happens is you get to the end, and if the number is just so far off of where they want, they feel like they've either lost trust, or they just are like, this can't possibly be right. That's usually the only reason why we see a second bid come into it. Anyway, just trying to compare commercial versus residential, because I do know it's different. I mean, as a business owner, if I'm hiring you to build my space out because I want to be profitable, I get it. If I can lower my cost burden of whatever business operation, a Nordstrom's, a Taco Bell, a Panera, whatever they're building, or a housing unit, I totally understand why they might look at that differently. I think that speaks to the emotion, because I think, if you're looking at from a business lens, yeah, less is really, I mean, that is one of the number one ways to make more money, right? Is pay, have your cost basis be lower. Of course, for a home, it's a little bit different, because I feel like people really take into account residentially, like value and the process, and they're living there. So it's super emotional. So maybe that's the positive side of it being emotional. Not that they're not concerned about price. They certainly are. I've never had a client that isn't concerned about price. But I feel like when it's their decision to add money or it's their decision to spend money versus if it's my decision to spend money, whenever it can be the client, they're fine with it. I'm sure you've gotten into builds where, the client wants to either change something or upgrade, but as long as it's not you coming to them saying, hey, we hit bad soil or concrete, concrete's not sexy. But if they're like, hey, I'd really love to add a swimming pool to this common area, like, great. They totally understand that they're asking you to increase scope. I mean, does that seem to resonate with you?
Yes, 100%. And if change orders are a way of our world, it's a very commonly used term. So, but yes, if our customer wants a change order, absolutely, we're happy to look at that and we're happy to get that figured out for you. And that adds to our benefit. And then if it's something that we do, I have a concrete crew that is it's a sister company. They're within our building. They do think concrete is sexy, and they make it sexy.
That's funny.
So they do, they are a subcontractor, so they do have to bid as well, and they have to be the lowest. But we have those options. Of course, not in Washington, but we have that here. And to your point, you should bring Nordstrom back into it. I looked at it like that, through that lens of, as a customer looking for something nice to wear. I am going to this event and I want something nice to wear. Sure, I could go to A, B, or C, and it's probably going to be less expensive. Maybe it might not be apples to apples, but it might be something similar for less money. But you better believe that if I'm going to something special and have a special event, I want this to be very memorable, I am okay to pay more for maybe a higher priced brand or something, but I'm going to pay more, and I'm okay with that if I'm going to get the service and the attention that I would get and that I do get when I go shop at Nordstrom. So I do this with Jan a lot. I compare the two, and he's, oh my gosh, how are we comparing Nordstrom to Baldwin and building here? But it's customer service. At the end of the day, it's customer service and how we take care of our customers. And that has been a mission of mine in this role of just really tackling that. And he did a great job before. So it's just me embracing that even more and taking it further.
From the human resources part, like I get marketing. I think most people understand the marketing side of it. And we can talk about nuances about that. But I feel like I talk a lot about marketing, so maybe we'll switch it up. From a human resources standpoint, what does that look like in your role at the company?
Yeah, it's another good question. It's been an organic, revolving evolution here. At the beginning, it was just having someone for Jan to be able to, I'm kind of the filter. So people come to me first with anything that they have. It can be personal, it can be job related, whatever they have, and I take it in, I filter it and process it, and okay, who does this need to go to? And if it's me, that's one thing. And if it's Jan, okay, then I need to schedule this with him or get that figured out. But what it's really turned into is a bigger piece of that is the culture within our four walls. And it's been lovely to see this blossom over the last couple of years. We have a culture now that is more than, from what I hear, because I've only been there for 2 years, but is more than they have had in the past. And it's very, very different and very positive.
I wonder if it is in a little bit. I wonder if Jan knew when he was hiring you, maybe he did, the fact that it was your personal story that sort of cemented the deal, right? At first it was your hurdle, and then it kind of became the thing that sealed the deal because Jan valued what you were doing for your family. So he knew you would treat, the company, probably very similar. Or your values. I mean, if your values are in one place, they're not going to change to another. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, or even if this is your first episode, I talk about the Contractor Coalition Summit all of the time. Our next one is happening November 7th through November 10th in Chicago. And all the details can be found at the contractorcoalitionsummit.com. You've got Brad Levitt, Nick Schiffer, Tyler Grace, Morgan Molitor, and myself will all be there. We've got great content over 3 days. You've got builders from all over the country. Try to get it to about that 30 people number. And we'll have sponsors as well that add a lot of value to each one of these dedicated days where you're talking about contracts and spreadsheets and margin and whether you're doing fixed bid or cost plus, your pre-construction agreements. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If you haven't been following it yet, you should. The Contractor Coalition Summit Instagram page is giving you a steady diet of the conversations that are being had, a lot of promo reels, a lot of the interviews that I've done personally at Omaha, which was my first Contractor Coalition where I'm part of the leadership. I interviewed all 36 people that attended, and we're going to be unveiling each one of their interviews over the next couple of months. So people that were not able to attend and would like to can kind of get a better idea of the value that builders are getting. So if you're going to sign up and come to Chicago, you can type in the promo code Curious Builder and get $2,500 off, and we'll see you in Chicago.
I do care, and they know that. And I think they saw that straight away, because when I was first hired, remember, I was there for marketing, and human resources wasn't talked about yet. Jan and I knew in the back of our minds that that's where we would head. But I had employees say to me, we really need you to be our human resource person. You get this. You're a natural problem solver. You care. You show care. You show concern, and you want to help solve problems or teach us how to solve problems. So really, that's what I want. I don't want to solve your problems. That's a lot to do, but I want to guide you in the right way and ask you a lot of questions and be curious about what you're doing and what you have done. I love that about the name of your brand, The Curious Builder, because we are very curious at Baldwin. We want to know, we ask a lot of questions and get to the bottom of things. So that's really what it is. And it was just honoring, again, because they didn't know that that was a plan. And for them to say that to me was very humbling, to say the least, and very honoring as well. And I always want to honor them and their privacy, number one, but again, build our culture and build our environment within our walls so that we can then go out and do our best and be our best. So really, that's what I strive and aim to do every day.
One of my favorite quotes is actually came out in the first podcast I ever did on the Curious Builder with the owners of Pella Windows, but Ed Engelbrecht had shared culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I always thought that was super funny. I was thinking of Pac-Man was eating strategy, where I'm going with this is it feels like the culture, at Baldwin is very, very positive, especially if it has anything to do with you, which obviously it must have had something to do with Jan as well. What do you do I think a lot of times people want to know, how do you build culture? I think people recognize it when they see it. I think people are gravitate towards it, but sometimes they don't understand what it is that they're gravitating towards. I think certain people have magnetic personalities and you sort of feel like you're being pulled into their orbit, but a company is something different. Sometimes a company takes on the personality of the owner, which happens very often with entrepreneurships. But when companies get bigger, it's hard sometimes to maintain the culture because as the company grows, you need a culture calendar, you need touchstones, you need an actual prescriptive method to make sure that the culture is not lost. How have you sort of seen that sort of demonstrated? Because I believe, just based on you talking and your attraction to the company, it was probably happening either organically or planned. Is that something you're involved with now that you're part of HR and marketing? It seems kind of like a dovetail between the two. You can obviously market to, other companies that would hire you, and talk about your culture, which is wonderful. But I have to imagine you're also marketing to talent into your own team. And that's also equally important.
Yes. Oh gosh, it is. And, one of the things that I saw in accepting this position was the cohesiveness and how it did dovetail with what I know are my strengths, from my career and from the very beginning with Nordstrom into having our own business and building relationships. Those were just natural strengths that I have. And something that really that I do is people are important to me, and I want you to feel like you are the most important person in the room when we speak. I don't want to be preoccupied. I want you to know that I'm here, I'm listening, I see you. And I think that having that culture and modeling that, it's something that comes again naturally to me, but it's really neat because something that I'm wanting to lean towards is we're very big fans of the Arbinger Institute, and this is what they preach. They preach treating others, understanding others, and putting others first, understanding that people are people. We all are human. And yes, we have these jobs to perform, but we're human first. And to get to the human side, and if it's with an owner or with your super or with your project engineer, it doesn't always have to be so cold and businesslike. Get to know them a little bit, talk to them about who they are as a person. And then you can loop business into that. And that's the way that I do it. And I've always done it. And what I example on the job, and what with now understanding with the Arbinger Institute, which is, again, it's a great company. We're really quietly layering these principles in, and they're principles that we've all done in the past. They just kind of changed in a little bit as time has gone on. But it's wonderful because what it does is it really gets you out of yourself, and that's important to management, to just working and having a relationship. Is you can't be self-deceived and think that you are more important than everybody else in this room. We're all the same. We're all the same at the end of the day. And really that's what we do.
Would you say, looking forward, you had mentioned earlier about expanding into Washington, is that right now it accounts for what, 10%, 20% of your overall work?
Yes,
20%. Yep. And are your teams and crews from Oregon going up there, or are you finding talent locally? I'm guessing you're obviously using subcontractors, but from a management standpoint, that's always where, geographically things get difficult for companies that start to expand. What is sort of the not only marketing plan to what you can say yes to, but logistically, how do you handle expansion like that?
We always look for talent. Always, always, always. We always have our eyes and ears open and look through our platforms of talent that applies, and we just try to have a grip on who's out there. And you probably realize this as well in your world, that it's hard to find talent. And when you find them, grab them. You got to keep them. So with our Washington team, we do find talent locally there. And sometimes some will travel. There's certain circumstances that they feel like they can travel a bit, but our Washington team is all from that area, and we've been able to, with technology, be able to find that talent. We do have one gal in our office who is a project engineer for the Washington team, so she travels up there every other week. Now that we have an official office up there, I'm traveling up there a lot more to have an office there and to be present and to try to bring that culture that I bring to our office here into that Bellevue office. And Jan is up quite a bit more. We're just trying to be more present and in person, because there can seemingly, not intentionally, seem like there's these two islands. And I really am trying to bridge that gap, because I don't want I just don't want that feeling. It doesn't feel good. And that like, you like them better. I don't like that at all. And so we just try to bridge the gap as best we can.
What's the drive time between the two?
Boy, it's about a 4-hour drive. Yeah. That's when I go, I leave really early. I leave at 4 a.m. and just drive up, because the Bellevue traffic is bananas.
Well, it's funny. I had my old roommate in college lived out in Seattle, and I think their first home was in Bellevue. So we went to go visit them, and I mean, I don't know, the West Coast traffic in general is pretty nightmare. I mean, obviously California, my wife did a residency before we were married in San Francisco. So the Bay Area is wild with traffic. But if I had to take a guess, and maybe I was only a visitor, I don't know, the Seattle area might be the worst place I've ever been in traffic. It's just, there's bridges everywhere. There's nowhere you can go. It's like bridges to everywhere. Although I heard when I was in Portland, someone said it was a city of bridges, that there's a lot of bridges there too. I guess you have so much water, which is great, but man, you got bridges all over the place. So it certainly makes traffic difficult.
That's right. I've said too, boy, Southern California, the 405 has nothing on this traffic up here. This is crazy.
You know what you need? You have to talk to Jan about getting a helicopter. You could make that a lot shorter, plus if you're doing.
Funny enough, we have a gentleman.
I might have to make the expense report. You can blame it. You can blame that idea on me. So bring it to him and say, hey, the Curious Builder says you need a helicopter.
I like, here's what Mark says. Well, we have a business manager in our office who is, interestingly enough, getting his pilot license. And I, like,
Yeah.
man, get that quicker, because that would be really great to just fly up and fly back.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I guess, what are you excited for here? We're obviously over halfway through the year. What are you excited for to close in on third and fourth quarter? And what's exciting for you in the future?
Personally, for my job growth and my personal growth, something that I have been able to implement this year, mid-year, was an HRIS system that, as a smaller company, we didn't have. We did everything. We have a server, we have papers on a server somewhere. Sometimes we can find them.
Good. I'm glad to know I'm not alone in that one.
Oh gosh.
I sent an email to my marketing person the other day about the Curious Builder stuff. I'm like, hey, where do we keep like the Arizona and Atlanta pictures? Because we have these hubs for collectives. And I was like, I'm looking in my drive. I can't find them. And she sent me a link. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I looked in the drive, can't find them. So
right. That's the bane of our existence, is our photo drive. Jan is always like, our photos are a mess. I'm like, I'm sorry. I try to keep them organized. But that was a really big thing for me to take on. I researched, different systems. We don't need something so complicated, but yet we need something. And so we implemented that. And boy, that has been so nice to have everything in one place from onboarding. Everybody has their own hub. They can go in and look at their time off. They can request time off. They can have all of their insurance information in one place. Our reviews are done through this now. I'm telling you.
What program is this?
Mark, it has made such a huge difference. It's called Bamboo HR.
Oh, that's so funny you mentioned that. I met one of their sales rep at the Sunbelt. So I went down to the Sunbelt Builder Show down in Texas, and we had to give a little speech there. And I was on a panel, and I was walking around meeting some sponsors. And anyway, this guy from Bamboo, and I don't know what our team, and we're a small team of 5, but that's so funny. The only reason I know it is because this gentleman was like, it's a panda bear, so on the bamboo, right? So it's like good marketing. It's like, okay, what's this all about? This is catchy. So that's so funny that you like it. Okay,
it's been great, and we're even doing compensation through Bamboo. It has made my life so much easier. Now, to be very honest and transparent, I'm not 100%, fully set up. I'm getting there, but
yep.
Man, it is amazing. It's a game changer.
I think the technology shifts have changed so much. I mean, one of our, kind of a shout out to one of our main sponsors, Adaptive. They do all our bill pay is through an AI platform. So all the PMs, all our project coordinators, everything can be not only streamlined, you can set permissions right in it, and it just makes bill pay so much faster. I honestly can't remember what we did without it. I mean, obviously I built for 18, 19 years before it existed. But I think we're going to keep seeing technologies that come forward. And I do think someone had mentioned, I was at a conference and they were talking about just AI, and a lot of builders in particular think that construction is not, early adopters. And he said, no, absolutely the opposite. He said, building construction world is actually one of the, the world's, foremost industries that is constantly adapting to new technology. So you're talking about energy and glazing on windows and steel beams and engineering, and we're constantly building new things, and the laws keep changing. California's got who knows what they're doing, but Minnesota, where I'm located, we're really cold. So there's a lot of reasons for our codes, and they're constantly changing. So I think builders don't give themselves enough credit for being technology advisors. I mean, or adopters, I should say, because we think like, hey, it's manual labor, or you're still putting stuff together, or you'll hear the adage of like, well, we don't have to worry about robots. You still need humans to put this stuff up. And that may or may not be true. I think what people are missing in construction is that technologically, we are actually quite advanced, because a lot of the companies that we work with, they're very advanced. So like someone might say, well, I don't need AI. Yeah, well, the companies that you like, Builder Trend, like Adaptive, like whoever, Bamboo, I don't know enough about their platform to comment on them, but honestly, every software is going to have AI in it some way or another. So by simply virtue of who you're working with, now you as a business owner are also adopting AI through the partners that you choose to work with. So I actually think we're a much forward facing industry than many others. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I absolutely do. I love AI. I think it's a great productivity tool, and I use it when I'm creating marketing tools, website stuff. I use it. It's amazing. And so we just had our AGC summer event here in Bend, where you're familiar with, and AI was a really big component of that, and John was very excited to be in there and listen how AI can help with even estimating now. And what a great tool to have, and time saving. Even if AI can help our estimators with 20 or 50% of what they're doing, that is 20 or 50% of the time that you have back to put someplace else. Or maybe it's going to get you to your bottom line quicker, and now you can move on to another project. We're going to be able to estimate more quicker with these tools. And so we embrace it wholeheartedly. Now, not everybody in our world, in our building, embraces it. There's a few of us that are more on board than others, but it's because they don't quite need it for their job yet, but they don't know what it can do for their job yet. So
that's funny you say that. We're a small company, and I use ChatGPT quite a bit and a few other AI platforms, and I'd like to do more. And I think, I actually think I need to dedicate specific time in my schedule, like time blocking, to explore using it, because it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. Right. And as the owners of the company, especially you guys are a bigger company, I mean, maybe you have a technology officer that can roll out platforms and SOPs, and then at your inner team meetings, you can say, hey, we're going to use this over the next quarter, year. That's you too. Okay. You're okay. Wow. You got all the hats. Where I was going with that is, a lot of times the people are playing with it. We see the value, but it's sometimes hard because you go to your PM, you're like, hey, we've got this new software. And like it's a common owner issue where the owners will go to a conference or we'll go talk to someone and I'll be all excited about this new technology, but maybe I use it, but maybe it's more like the team needs to use it. And they're like, great, another platform to use, another thing to learn. And like, I do believe there is somewhere, that KISS principle of keep it simple, stupid. Like, sometimes we can get too complicated, but you just mentioned bamboo. That actually is both. It's technologically advanced, but it's also keeping it simple because for you, it's keeping it all in one place. Gotcha. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing to have everything in one place. Everybody can find it and everybody knows where it is. And their AI integration is great as well. Like we are absolutely, plugged in with that, and I put in all of the information that I want available for AI. And so our employees can go to the AI assistant and ask the AI assistant something, and it will spit out an answer that, relating to what they're asking based on what we've put in. So yeah, no, it's great. And there are so many things that it can do. And I use, for an example, and you probably do this too, but I use an AI note taker in all of our meetings now. It's just there. And at first, owners were kind of questioning, what's this? They were a little skeptical. And Jan was on board, and we were all on board. It was just something nice to have as a backup, so that if one of our PEs, maybe they didn't hear something right, or they missed something, or they could look back at this transcript and see exactly who said what. And boy, it's just nice to have this backup. And so now more and more people are getting on board with this. We have a project we're doing in Bellevue, another beautiful multifamily building project, and they have quite a big ownership team, and they have 3 AI note takers, and then mine.
So I know it becomes like, well, it's funny. There's been jokes that you have more note takers than you have people in the meeting. But it is funny. As like an owner, sometimes like my team will have a meeting and I'll miss it for whatever reason. Another meeting went long or whatever. And then I'll get a summary of it. It's pretty nice. You can scan stuff pretty quick, and especially the summaries of it. I have a little warning tale to tell on that, actually. Not too long ago, a month or two ago, I was on a call with the architect, and we had one homeowner that was going to be coming on late virtually and one in office. And nothing bad, but just the architect and I were just talking shop. But it was being recorded by our note taker. And we were being pretty frank, like, hey, this is difficult, that I'm not sure we're going to be able to get this. The client might not see it this way. And then the client came in. Anyway, we had a great meeting, pulled it around. Client was super happy. And that night, the homeowner reviewed the notes because they were looking for plan updates, which weren't in there, with their 12-year-old daughter. And they listened to us talk. That, again, nothing terrible, but my heart, I was actually in a podcast like this when I got this text from my homeowner, and my heart just sank. And I just felt like I'm somebody who doesn't remember what I say, but I know that I didn't say anything terrible because I just don't talk terribly. So I wasn't super concerned, but I was like, it just made me feel like it's not a good look. I felt super bad about it. And like, I know they're like, hey, we thought things ended really well, and now we're right back to where, and I was just like, oh man. So I know I felt terrible. So I went back and I looked at the transcript to see what I did say, and I actually felt better. I'm like, well, it's not terrible, and it needed to be said. It was honest. And we worked it out, and we're still moving forward. But it was a real lesson and the reason I'm sharing it on the podcast is a warning of, I messed up. Don't do it too. So like when you, especially in the world we live in right now, I feel like I think there still needs to be a place for frank conversations, and that's okay. But like everything's being recorded. And so, make sure that, what you're saying, you're okay with. And even we do it on purpose with I actually have my phone. So we use Otter when I'm like out in the field. We'll often set it on a desk, or I'll keep it in my shirt pocket or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm just recording, just so you're aware, mainly just so I can do recap notes, and everyone's fine with it. It's more just a courtesy to let people know. Yes. And I think pretty soon, at this point, what isn't going to be recorded between video and audio, but it's the world we live in. But anyway, it was some humble pie I had to eat, and I share it just because, be careful, because you're being recorded sometimes when you don't think you are.
That's right. Well, and I was able to, if I can give this example, I was able to use it recently as a coaching tool, because we had a meeting where we had some tensions that were high and emotions were high, as they typically are at the end of a project, or as it's closing out. Yeah, so tensions were high, and some emotions were really just put out there and let go. And it was something that I spoke to somebody about, and it was great because they came back to me the next day and said, I was thinking last night, I lost sleep over this, and you have the notes on this meeting, right? And I said, I sure do. And the question was, can we go through that? I'd like to really see and listen to how I came across and how I said it.
Wow, that's impressive.
That's a great idea. It's a great idea. Let's do it. And so what a great coaching tool there. Because,
wow. Yeah. That was pretty self-reflective of that person. I don't know the circumstances, but based on what you just said, I'm pretty impressed with that person, because not too many people want to face their faults and use it as a learning tool. I'm super impressed with whoever said that. Yeah,
me too. Because it wasn't their intent. The intent wasn't to hurt or to come across. And so it was just that, the self-reflection of, boy, how did I sound when I said that? So it has its positive sides too, but we certainly do have to be careful with what we say.
Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time as well as the audience. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a pleasant surprise. And I guess we'll get you down the life's road. And I'm excited for your future. I'll keep an eye open on how you guys' expansion is going into Washington and other states. And thanks again to the audience for tuning in to another great episode.
And thank you for having me. And this last minute switch up, it's been very, very powerful and just a great experience. So I greatly appreciate it. And I would encourage you, keep an eye out on our website. Wendell really helps me, and he does an amazing job and really highlights our projects well and leads people back to our website. And that's really what we want. So and I'm keeping my eye on yours too. I really love what you're doing. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor, share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.